Anthropic, the company behind Claude, just accidentally published their entire source code to the internet. I'm talking about 512,000 lines of code, unreleased features, secret project names, internal architecture, all of it just sitting on NPM for anyone to grab. And that's not even the craziest thing that happened today. By the end of this video, you're going to know about 5 major AI stories that just dropped, including one company that's firing 30,000 people so they can spend more on AI. Yeah, we need to talk about this. What's up, everyone? I'm Roshan with AI Heavy. Welcome back to your daily AI news. So today we've got a lot to uncover. Anthropic's massive source code leak, Oracle cutting tens of thousands of jobs, Google's new Gemini 3 deepthink upgrade that's catching mistakes even human researchers missed, Apple's billion-dollar Siri deal with Google, and Runway throwing $10 million at AI startups. Stick around because the stuff they found inside Anthropic's leak code, that's going to blow your mind. All right, let's get into the biggest story of the day. So yesterday morning, a security researcher named Shofan Shu, sorry if I'm not saying it right, he discovered something that Anthropic really didn't want anybody to find out. The entire source code for Claude Code. That's Anthropic's AI coding tool that runs in your terminal. It was just out there on the public NPM registry for anyone to download. Okay, so here's what happened. And honestly, it's kind of a rookie mistake for a company as big as Anthropic. So when you build software with JavaScript, your bundler can generate something called a source map file. Think of it like a translation guide. It maps the messy compiled production code back to the original human-readable source code. You're absolutely never supposed to ship that publicly, but somebody at Anthropic forgot to turn that off. They're using a bundler called Bun, and with Bun, source maps are generated by default. You have to manually tell it not to. Somebody didn't flip that switch. One file, 59.8 megabytes. That's all it took to expose everything. And I'm not talking about some random side project here. This was 1,900 files, over 512,000 lines of code. The entire code base for Claude Code. Their flagship developer tool that I spend $200 a month on. People archived it on GitHub almost immediately. Within hours, it had over 1,000, 1,100 stars, and nearly 2,000 forks. I mean, the internet moves fast when you accidentally open source your project. Anthropic is closed source, and we all hate it, I understand. But here's the thing, and this is where it gets really wild. It's not just the current code that leaked. People started combing through everything and found unreleased features, stuff that nobody was supposed to know about. They found a project called Kairos, which looks like an always-on version of Claude, which is very interesting. Not something you open and close, something that just runs. Not something that you open and close, just something that runs all the time in the background. Think about that for a second. An AI assistant that's always watching, always ready, always there. Does it sound like something familiar? They found Ultra Plan, a 30-minute remote planning feature where Claude can go off and work on complex problems for extended periods without you babysitting it. There's a buddy companion mode, a coordinator mode that lets multiple Claude agents work together, agent swarms, which we've seen other models do before, workflow scripts, internal OAuth flaws, permission enforcement systems, quite a bit. So this is basically Anthropic's entire roadmap laid out in code. It's crazy. And now everyone, including OpenAI, Google, and every other competitor, can see exactly the direction that they're heading. Now let me just give you some context on why those unreleased features matter. Kairos, always on Claude, think about what that means right now. You open Claude, you type something, you get a response, you close it. Kairos suggests a future where Claude is just running, monitoring, ready to jump in whenever you need it. Kairos suggests a future where Claude is just running, monitoring, ready to jump in whenever you need it. That's a completely different relationship with AI. That's not a tool you pick up and put down. That's a coworker that never leaves. And agent swarms, that's multiple AI agents coordinating on a single task. Not one Claude doing one thing, a team of Claude splitting up work, checking each other, checking on each other, combing results. If Anthropic pulls that off, it changes what's possible with AI coding, AI research, pretty much AI everything. Now, should you be worried about the leak itself? If you're a regular Claude user, no. This isn't a data breach or anything like that. Your conversations didn't leak, your personal info is fine. But for Anthropic as a company, yeah, this is a rough day. It's embarrassing. It gives competitors a detailed blueprint of their architecture, and it reveals features they clearly wanted to announce on their own terms, not through an NPM accident. And here's what this means for you. Two big things. First, Anthropic is working on some seriously ambitious stuff. Always on AI, multiple agent teams, swarm intelligence. That's where this whole industry is going. And now we have proof sitting in GitHub repo with thousands of stars. If you're someone building with AI or building a business around AI, pay attention to these feature names. When they officially launch, which they will, you want to be first in line. And by the way, this is exactly the kind of stuff we stay on top of inside of my free school community, AI Freedom Lab. When features like Kairos or Agent Swarms actually drop, we're the people who figure out how to use them first and turn them into real income, not just toys to play around with and, wake you up in the morning and do little to-dos. No, we're talking about income with this AI. So if you want in on that, link is in the description. It's free. Okay, now back to the story. Second, if you're a developer, take this as a wake-up call. Check your .npm ignore file. Second, if you're a developer, take this as a wake-up call. Check your .npm ignore file, check your bundler settings, triple check what's in your published packages. Because if Anthropic, a company valued at tens of billions of dollars with world-class engineers, can make this mistake, anyone can. It only takes one misconfigured setting. I've actually had to go in and look at my stuff this morning. All right, wild way to start a Wednesday, but we're just getting warmed up. Before we get to the next story, quick shout out to today's sponsor. Okay, so this is the next story that honestly, this one hit different because we talk about AI every single day on this channel. We talk about the opportunity, we talk about the tools, but today we need to talk about the other side of it. Oracle, one of the biggest software companies on the planet, started sending out termination emails this morning. This hit home because I have relatives that work in tech, they're in the Bay Area, and this is a little spooky. And we're not talking about small rounds of layoffs here. Investment bank TD Cowen estimates this could hit between 20 and 30,000 people. Think about that. That's roughly 18% of their entire workforce gone. And the way it went down is rough. Employees across the US, India, Canada, Mexico, they got emails at 6 a.m. from Oracle leadership telling them their role was eliminated. No heads up from the manager, no warning from HR, just an email. And that was their last day. So let's talk about why is Oracle actually doing this? Money, specifically, AI money. Oracle has been spending aggressively on AI data center infrastructure, and they need cash to keep building. TD Cowen estimates these layoffs will free up $8 to $10 billion in cash flow. Let that number sink in. They're cutting people to free up $8 to $10 billion. And it gets crazier. Oracle has taken $58 billion in new debt in just the last 2 months. They raised $50 billion through a bond offering in February alone. They also disclosed a $2.1 billion restructuring plan in their latest SEC filing, with almost $1 billion of that already spent on severance. So here's the picture. Oracle is betting everything, and I mean everything, on AI cloud infrastructure. They're borrowing tens of billions of dollars, cutting tens of thousands of people, and pouring it all into data centers that run AI workloads. It's one of the most aggressive corporate pivots I've ever seen. And Oracle isn't alone in this. We've been seeing this pattern, and Oracle isn't alone on this. We've been seeing this pattern across big tech all year. Companies are realizing that AI infrastructure is the new gold rush, and they're willing to make painful cuts in other areas to fund it. The question is, does the bet pay off? So the question is, does the bet pay off? Because if the AI boom slows down or Oracle can't compete with AWS and Azure in the cloud space, those 30,000 people lost their jobs for nothing. Now here's my take on this, and I want to be real with you. This is exactly why I keep saying you need to be on the right side of AI, not against it, not ignoring it. You need to understand that these tools, you need to be building with them, because companies are clearly choosing AI infrastructure over headcount. That's the reality right now. I'm not saying it's good. 30,000 people losing their jobs is terrible. Let me make that clear. But it's happening. And the best thing you can do is make sure you're learning these skills, building with these tools, and creating your own opportunities instead of waiting for a company to decide your future. That's not fear-mongering. That's just paying attention. And look, I started this channel for exactly that reason, to help people understand AI, use it, and build with it, not to watch from the sidelines while companies restructure around them. If you're watching this video, you're already ahead of most people, so keep going. All right, so let's shift gears to something a bit more exciting. Google just dropped a big upgrade to their Gemini 3 DeepThink model, and this one is really impressive. So if you're not familiar, DeepThink is Google's specialized reasoning model inside Gemini. It's not meant for casual chatting or anything, or writing emails. It's built for hard problems. It's like, for science, research, engineering, the kind of stuff where there isn't always one right answer and the data is messy and incomplete. So I usually drop in files and have it organize things, or write up a PRD for a new web design, something like that, just for the beginning deep processes. Google released Gemini 3.1 Pro alongside with DeepThink on March 26th, and they've been rolling it out since. It's not available in the Gemini app, so it's now available in the Gemini app if you're an Gemini Ultra subscriber, which is the $250 a month plan. And for the first time, they're opening up API access to select researchers and engineers. I only have the $20 Gemini Pro plan myself, which is good enough for image generation and fun stuff like that, and a little bit of research. I used to have the Ultra plan, the $250, but after a couple of months, I just found myself using ChatGPT Pro or just Claude Max a little more. So I went down to the $20 a month Gemini plan. But needless to say, here's the part that caught my attention. They tested DeepThink on a peer-reviewed mathematics paper, a paper that had already been reviewed by human mathematicians. And DeepThink found a logical flaw that every human reviewer missed. Say that again, a published peer-reviewed paper, multiple expert mathematicians signed off on it, and the AI caught something they all missed. A mathematician at Rutgers confirmed it. That's not just a benchmark score on some leaderboard. That's real-world result. And an AI catching something that trained human experts missed. And the thing about math proofs is they're either right or wrong. There's no opinion involved. The AI was right, the humans were wrong, full stop. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Rashawn, why? Now I know what some of you are thinking. Hey Rashawn, I'm not a mathematician, why should I care? Fair question. Here's why. These reasoning improvements don't stay locked in a lab. When Google makes DeepThink better at complex logic, the same improvement trickles down into everything else. The Gemini you use for writing gets smarter. The coding suggestions get more accurate. When you ask it to analyze a spreadsheet or figure out why your business numbers don't add up, it gives you a better answer. Reasoning is the foundation. When reasoning gets better, everything built on top of it gets better. And here's something practical. If you're a Google Ultra subscriber, you can actually use DeepThink right now in the Gemini app. If you've got a tough problem, coding bug that you can't figure out, a business decision with a bunch of variables, a research question that needs real depth, try throwing that into DeepThink mode and see what comes back. It won't always be right, but based on what we're seeing, it's getting surprisingly good at that hard stuff. Google is clearly pushing Gemini towards the think hard about hard problem space. And based on what DeepThink just did with that math paper, they're making real progress. See, this is the kind of update that doesn't get flashy headlines. This is the kind of update that doesn't get the flashy headlines like a new ChatGPT release, but honestly, it might matter more in the long run. Quick side note too. This is part of the bigger trend we've been watching. The gap between open source models and these big proprietary ones shrink fast. What used to take years to close is now closing in months. A year ago, open source models were way behind in reasoning tasks. Now they're catching up at a speed nobody expected. We're heading towards a real world where really powerful AI reasoning isn't locked in behind a company's subscription. And that's great for all of us, especially if you're a builder or entrepreneur trying to keep costs down. All right, so just a couple of more things you need to know before we wrap this all up. Okay, so just a couple of more things before we wrap this all up. Number one, Apple's billion-dollar Siri makeover. So Apple and Google have a deal worth roughly $1 billion a year. Apple is basically rebuilding Siri from the ground up using Google Gemini's models. They're calling it Project Campos internally. The new Siri will be able to see what's on your screen, remember past conversations, and handle multi-step tasks. Like if you've got a restaurant open in Safari, Siri can just make a reservation. No copying names or addresses. If you have a flight confirmation email, you open it, it'll add it to your calendar and set a reminder automatically. Some cool stuff. And the wild part, from the user's perspective, it'll still just look and feel like regular old Siri. No Google branding anywhere. It's completely white label deal. Apple is essentially saying, we can't build a good enough AI on our own, so we're going to pay Google $1 billion a year to just do it for us, which is a pretty big deal when you think about it. Apple admitting they need Google's help with AI? Who would have thought that would ever happen? That tells you how high these stakes are. So this is expected to show up with iOS 26.4, and Apple will officially preview it at the WWDC in June. If they pull this off, it could be the biggest upgrade Siri has ever gotten. And after years of Siri being, well, just Siri, it's about time. All right, so just a couple of more things you need to know before we wrap it up. Number one, Apple's $1 billion SIRI makeover, because I don't want to set that thing off in your living room right now or your desk or at work. So Apple and Google have a deal worth roughly $1 billion a year. Apple is basically rebuilding S from the ground up using Google's Gemini models. They're calling it Project Campos internally. So the new S will be able to see what's on your screen, remember past conversations, and handle multi-step tasks. Like if you got a restaurant open in Safari, S can just make a reservation. No copying names, addresses, no doing any of that. If you got a flight confirmation email open, it'll just add it to your calendar and set a reminder automatically. Some pretty cool stuff. But the wild part, from the user's perspective, it'll still just look and feel like good old SIRI. No Google branding anywhere. It's completely white label deal. Apple is essentially saying, we can't build a good enough AI on our own, so we're just going to pay Google $1 billion a year to do it for us, which is a pretty big deal if you think about it. Apple admitting they need Google's help with AI, that tells you how high the stakes are. This is expected to show up in iOS 26.4, and Apple will officially preview it at WWDC in June. If they pull this off, it could be the biggest upgrade SIRI has ever gotten. And after years of being, well, and to be quite frank, after years of S being average, I mean, we've all been there where we're asking S something simple and it's like, here's what I found on the web, and it's completely off. So those days are finally over. The thing that excites me most about this is the on-screen awareness. So imagine you're looking at a product on Amazon and you just say, hey, find this cheaper somewhere else for me. And you're reading an article and you say, summarize this for me. No copying, no pasting, no switching apps. Finally, that's the kind of AI integration that changes how regular people, not just tech nerds, actually use their phones every day. And I've been waiting for this upgrade because they keep upgrading the phones and they start looking cooler, but the AI behind it has been garbage. Number two, Runway is investing in AI startups. Runway, the AI video generation company that raised $315 million at a $3.5 billion valuation, announced a $10 million venture fund today. They're writing checks up to $500,000 for pre-seed and seed stage companies. They want to fund teams building on top of AI models, creating new media formats, and pushing the boundaries of what AI can do with video and world simulation. So if you're building something in the AI space, especially anything touching video, media, or creative tools, this is absolutely worth looking into. They're also launching a builders program that sounds pretty interesting, and it gives startups free API credits from seed all the way up to Series C. So even if you're not looking for funding, the free credits alone could be valuable if you're building on top of AI video models. What I find interesting about this is the Runway isn't just selling a product anymore. They're trying to build an entire ecosystem around AI video. That's a smart play. The companies that win in AI won't just be the ones with the best models. They'll be the ones with the best communities of builders around their tech. And I'm all about building community. All right, look, if you're serious about staying ahead of AI and actually using these tools to build income, I've got a free community called AI Freedom Lab on School. We've got free courses, live discussions, and a community of people all building with AI. We break down exactly how to take tools like these and turn them into real skills, real services, real money. Link is in the description. It's completely free to join. And if you want the latest AI tools delivered straight to your inbox, go to AI Tool and sign up for the free newsletter. Every week I break down the newest AI tools and weekly AI news so you never have to miss what's important. No spam, no fluff, just tools and news you need to know. Okay, so let me tie this all together. When you zoom out, today's stories paint a clear picture. Anthropic is building an always-on AI agent that works in swarms, and we only know because of an accident. Oracle is firing 30,000 people to pour billions into AI infrastructure. Google's reasoning AI is catching mistakes that trained experts missed. Apple is paying $1 billion a year to make Siri actually smart. And Runway is putting up venture money because AI video is about to explode. Every one of these stories points to the same direction. AI isn't a trend, it's not a bubble, it's the new foundation every major company is rebuilding on. And the faster you learn to build with these tools, the better position you're going to be in. That's your AI news for the day. Smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell so you never miss any daily AI news. Drop a comment. Which story surprised you the most today? Was it the Claude code leak, the Oracle layoffs, which is a big one for me, and the deep think math paper thing? I want to hear from you. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.